Money. This is Political Capital.
And we begin the program with House Republican Leader John Boehner of Ohio. Mr. Leader, thank you for being with us.
Al, nice to see you.
President Obama proposed sweeping financial re-regulation this week and said Congress should pass it this year. Will you?
I do think that something will pass this year. Clearly, after what happened over the last 18 months, Congress needs to look at the regulatory structure. And there are some issues that the President's put forward that we're in agreement with. But I do believe that there's far too much discretion given to the Federal Reserve in his plan, and I think a lot of members on both sides of the aisle are concerned about it.
So curb back on that proposal.
I think that's one issue. Second issue, there's nothing in there that end the bailouts. And I think that as this money from the TARP program is being repaid, it ought to go back into the Treasury. We don't need to have a $700 billion slush fund down at the Treasury.
The President, in an interview with Bloomberg News, said that Wall Street doesn't get it yet. They don't know how close we were to the abyss. Do you agree that Wall Street doesn't get it?
No, I think Wall Street understands clearly the problems that they had. I think they've worked to clean up the problems that they've created over the last several years. But at some point, it's just that how big a government footprint needs to be on the financial sector. This consumer board that the President puts out in his proposal would virtually require every new financial service product to be approved before it can be sold to the public. And I'm concerned that it's too big of a footprint.
You mentioned health care, a lot of partisan divide in it so far, but this week a bipartisan proposal emerged from Bob Dole, Howard Baker, Tom Daschle. It will require all Americans to have health insurance, leave any public options to the states, curb cost, and end the tax deductibility for the Cadillac portion of health insurance plans. Is that something that you can consider?
Well, I appreciate it.
Is it part of a deal, you think?
I appreciate their bipartisanship in coming together with this proposal. But this mandate that everyone should have insurance, there are some people who are well-to-do who don't want to have health insurance. I don't know that we ought to mandate that they have health insurance. My bigger concern about their bill is that it's probably going to cost well over $1 trillion. And at a time when we've already seen spending out of control here in Washington, I think it's better to take the current system, to make the current system work better for those who can't get insurance, those who have pre-existing conditions, and those who are stuck where they don't qualify for the government programs, but they don't have the money to afford health insurance. There's a way to make the current system work better that will cost far less and will preserve what's good about the best health care system in the world.
You offered your own plan this week. Let me ask you the same question that you asked President Obama. How many people would it cover of the 47 million who are uninsured? How much would it cost, and how do you pay for it?
We're still putting our bill together in terms of all the details and the drafting. And once all that drafting is finished, we'll have the chance to send it to the Congressional Budget Office and to do all of that detailed
sometime
analysis.
In the next couple of weeks.
But we do believe that it will cover most Americans, and we believe it will cost far, far less than the proposals being offered by President Obama and his Democrat allies on the Hill.
The President also in the Bloomberg interview said the jobless rate is going to hit 10% this year. What should be done about that?
Well, I thought the stimulus bill was supposed to be about jobs. I thought the omnibus appropriation bill with all these earmarks was supposed to be about jobs. And the fact is that we continue to lose jobs. Listen, all we're doing around here is growing the size of government and spending more on government.
But would you cut spending during a recession?
No, what I would do, as we proposed in the stimulus fight, is that I would allow American families and small businesses to keep more of what they earn.
So more tax cuts.
For them. Because at the end of the day, government can't solve this problem. Only the American people can, and the small business community. And if they have more disposable income in their pockets, they're going to save it, invest it, or spend it, all of which is good for the economy.
Let me switch to Iran. Huge controversy over there about the election. Many Republicans have been critical of the White House for not being tough enough. What one thing or one action would you like to see President Obama take right now about Iran?
Well, I just think that we could take a harder position. And what I would do is...
What would you have him say?
What I would do is put a block on imports to Iran of refined oil products. They have to bring most of their gasoline imported into their country. And I think if we were to work with other countries around the world to not sell them refined gasoline products, we could have an immediate impact on this regime's horrible record in terms of dealing with their people in a fair and open way.
Your Republican colleague, Dick Lugar from neighboring Indiana, says we better be pretty careful about stuff like that and the language, because he said they could use us as the great Satan, the enemy, and actually it would help the radicals consolidate their power.
Well, I've got my doubts about that. I think that we need to send a very strong message to the Iranians that we're not going to allow them to treat their people this way, that we are not going to allow them to become a nuclear power in the region. And all of this conversation that went on during the campaign last year about wanting to sit down with the Iranians and have a conversation. I don't know how you have a conversation with someone who's sworn to kill you. What's the basis for a conversation? I think it's time for the president to take real strong action, make it clear that he's not going to sit down with the Iranians until they begin to treat their people respectfully and they're willing to stop their nuclear program.
We'll go out on a political note. As you know, the last two elections have not been great evenings for you and Republicans.
They've been awful.
The average, the party out of power has picked up an average of 19 seats over the last 30 years. Will you equal that next year?
I don't know. I think we're going to gain seats. It's way too early to determine how many. But our job is to show the American people what Republicans will do in terms of standing on principle. All year long, we have stood on principle for fiscal responsibility, lower taxes, a smaller government here in Washington. And whether it was the stimulus bill, the omnibus bill, the budget, health care, energy, we've had what we thought was a better solution for the American people. And so over the course of the next 18 months...
So you think you've done more than just say no?
We've done a lot more. And our proposals are out there on health care. You referred to it earlier. We have an all-of-the-above energy plan. But my point is over the next 18 months, the American people, I think, will get a pretty clear view of what Republicans, the principles that we stand on, and how we would address the concerns that the American people.
And we'll have a chance over those 18 months to talk about that benchmark 19 seat pickup. Mr. Boehner, thank you so much for being with us today. When we come back, we'll talk to...